Welcome to Section 4 of Chapter 1, Saving a Revit File and Specifying Backup Files. This is the final section for Chapter 1, and before I begin, I just want to remind you all that in addition to this video instruction, you also have the course manual, and I really suggest that you read the course manual and also watch the videos in order to learn this Revit software, okay? So let's talk about how to save a file, specify backup files, and along with this I want to talk about the different Revit file types that we have and how to recognize them. So the first thing I want to do is I want to show you how to save a Revit file, okay? And so I'm going to click on New, and I'm going to use the construction template this time as my new file. I'm going to hit OK, and my Revit file is going to open. Now it's time to save our file and show you how to back it up. I'm going to come up here to the File tab and click on it, and I'm going to choose Save. And I'm going to browse to the location on my computer where I want to save my file. So I'm going to name this one, we'll name this one Revit Construction File, okay? And you're going to notice that we have RVT project file selected as our Revit file type. We only have really two options to save our file type as. And for this first one, I'm going to choose .rvt and click on that. Okay. So if I were to hit save right now, this Revit construction file would be saved in a RVT format, and that would be a Revit working file type. Okay. Now, before I hit save, I'm going to click on this options button right here. And this is where we're going to specify the number of backup files that are generated along with your Revit working file. Now, to sort of explain the system, every time you hit save in your Revit working file, your RVT file, a new backup is generated. So you see these say 7 and 8. That means that I have saved this residence example file 8 times. And every single time I hit save, one backup file then saves over the others. So you'll see it go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? As you save your backup files. So your backup files are continually generating, and they're continually saving over the top of one another. Now, I really think that you only need 3 backup files in any project, really, right? Unless you have some very high risk project you're working on. You know, maybe you want to specify a few more, but I think that specifying 3 backup files is a good idea. So I'm going to select that and click on 3 on my keyboard. I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to hit save. And when I hit save, you'll see here that my Revit construction file is saved. When I hit the save icon here, click, 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 or if I hit Control S, Control S, Control S on my keyboard, every single time I save this file, even though there's no working geometry in it, I go back to my file structure, you'll see I have my original file, and then I have these 3 backup files running. Okay, so I'm going to highlight all the files that are connected. Okay, so there's my original working file, and then originally these backups said 1, 2, 3, and then they went to 4, 5, 6. So they just continually save over one another. All right. So there's our Revit file. There are all of our backup files. Okay. The next type of file that we have is a Revit template file. So not only can you use predefined Revit templates to generate your files, but you can also generate your own personal Revit template file and save it for use in the future. So for example, if you worked in an office or you started your own business and you wanted to put your own branding into your template file, your logo, your line weights, all of the different settings you prefer, you can do that. And you can save it as a template file so that next time you start a brand new project, that is available for you to use, and it's a clean, fresh file with all of your clean, fresh settings in it. I can take this file that I generated, save as, and I can save it as a template file. So we have project and we have template. I'm going to click on template. I'm going to save it in the same folder I saved my working file just so that we can look at them all together. And I have an RTE extension here. RTE. That is a Revit template extension. I'm going to hit save. And really that's all there is to it. Now in my file structure, not only do I have my 1, 2, 3 backup files, I have my working file, and I have a template file. Okay? I'm going to close this out here. You see my Revit construction file, that's the working file. I have my example, I have that backup file I used, right? Now, to use my Revit template file, I'm going to choose New, the one that I just generated. It's not located here, okay? I can browse for it though, okay? And I can go and I can find it where I saved it. And you'll also notice that we have several other Revit template files available for us, okay? I'm going to hit cancel here. I'm not going to open it up, but that is how you would open up your Revit template file to use. Your personal Revit template file. Now I know all these terms sound very similar and it gets very confusing, right? Revit template file, personal template file, blank file, architectural, commercial. A lot of terms are being thrown at you right now, and that will be probably, I hate to say it, very consistent for the next probably couple of weeks. There's a lot to define in Revit before we actually get going, okay? So I'm going to be talking a lot, and we're going to be working through a lot of terms for these first few weeks. So really kind of bear with me, okay? Okay, the final Revit file type that we are going to be working with is going to be a Revit family project. Okay, and we're not going to work with those really very much in this class. They somewhat are advanced in their creation, so that's kind of another class to take. But I do want to show you the format of a family, okay? The format of a family, and let me just open up just kind of a sample family here so we can look at it, is a .rfa format. So I'm going to click on this sample family. This is a family, and it's a table. And if I save this family, file, save, just like I would a normal project, okay, RAC basic sample family, I'll have a Revit family here, all right? So I'm going to come to my, let's see, desktop here, and we are going to go here. And I'm going to save this RFA family here. So I hit save. But before I do that, I'm going to make sure I don't have very many backups running. And now I have a Revit family within that file structure, okay? So we basically have all of our Revit file types illustrated here. So we have our RFA, which is a Revit family. And again, we won't talk about those in terms of creation very much in this class. We'll talk about them in terms of loading them and using them. I have my Revit backup files for a project here. I know they're a backup file because I have that 4-digit numeric prefix here. I have a Revit template file that I created, not one that was inherent in the Revit file structure. And then I have my Revit RVT working file here, okay? So those are going to be the different types of Revit files you'll be seeing as we're working along. In general, for this class, really you're going to be working with the working file and some backup files, okay? I won't have you create your own template file in this course because really the architectural and the construction are sufficient for you. And we won't be creating any brand new families in this class either. So you'll likely be downloading them and loading them into your projects and using them. So I want you to know the file type, but we won't be generating them. So here we go. You now know how to start a Revit family, or you do a family, but a Revit working file. You know how to save it, and you also know how to recognize all of the different extensions that are out there. And so with that, we conclude section 4 of chapter 1, saving a Revit file and specifying backups.